So she has her pen and paper out and he walks over and he's like, "What are you doing?" And she goes, "I'm trying to divide the household chores." And he's like, "What?"
Throws a welcome to America party for her fiance Josh and invites multiple people who she's made out with.
Mido just told Debby to shut her mouth in front of her own friends, people she has known way longer than she has known him. And honestly, the wildest part isn't even that he said it. It's the look on her face right after he said it. That's the moment we're starting with today, because by the time we get back around to it, you are going to understand exactly why that one sentence might be the most telling thing anybody has said all season. And that's not even the only mess this week. Catie throws herself a birthday party, invites a guy she has admittedly been making out with behind Josh's back multiple times, and then acts genuinely confused when Josh has questions about it. So buckle up, because we are covering both of these disasters today, and at the end, I am ranking them, worst to worse, and I have a feeling you are going to fight me on it in the comments. Good. That's what the comments are for. Okay, let's start with Mido and Debby, because this relationship has gone from 0 to 100 in record time. Mido has officially been living with Debby for less than a week, less than 7 days, you guys, and we are already watching him snap at her like they've been married for a decade, and she's personally ruined his entire life. Here's what happened. Debby took a photo. Just a regular photo, the kind of thing literally every single person on this show does constantly, because that's the entire premise of the franchise. You document everything. Except this time, Mido wasn't happy about it, because apparently he didn't want a photo. He wanted a video. And when she asked why it mattered so much, the answer wasn't, "Because I wanted a nice memory of this moment with you." The answer, reportedly, was that he wanted footage, content, something he could actually use for his fan base. Sit with that for a second. His fan base. Not our memories. Not something for us. His fan base. This man has been in the country, living with this woman for less than a week, and he is already thinking about engagement metrics instead of, actually being present with his fiancé. If that doesn't tell you everything you need to know about what Mido actually came here for, I don't know what will. And look, I want to be fair here, because not every reality star who likes posting content is secretly using their partner. Sometimes people just like sharing their lives online. That's normal in 2026. But the context here matters. This isn't a guy who's been building a life with Debby for years and happens to enjoy filming it. This is a guy who landed less than a week ago and is already prioritizing footage over connection. That's not a content creator quirk. That's a red flag wearing a content creator's outfit. So that's strike one. Here's strike two, and this is the one we opened on. Debby's friends, the people who know her, who love her, who have presumably watched her go through plenty before Mido ever showed up, they started voicing some concerns. Nothing wild, nothing dramatic, just the normal, caring, "Hey, are you doing okay? We've noticed some things," kind of conversation that good friends have. And Mido's response to being gently, lovingly questioned by the people in Debby's corner was to demand respect from the entire group while showing absolutely none back. And at some point in that exchange, he told Debby to shut her mouth, in front of them, in front of the very people who were trying to look out for her. I want you to think about how that actually plays out in real time. You're sitting with your friends, the people you trust most, and your partner, who you've known for what? A handful of months, a handful of weeks, looks at you in front of all of them and tells you to be quiet. Not, "Let's talk about this later." Not, "Can we discuss this privately?" Just, "Shut your mouth," in front of an audience. That's not a heated moment that got away from somebody. That's a power move. That's somebody establishing who's allowed to talk and who isn't, and doing it publicly, on purpose, so everyone in the room understands the new rules. And here's what really gets me. He's demanding her friends respect him, a man they have known for a matter of days, while he won't even extend basic respect to the woman he supposedly wants to marry. That's not how respect works. You don't get to skip the line. You don't get to walk in, demand deference from people's entire support system, and then turn around and humiliate the person you're claiming to love in front of that exact same support system. That's backwards. That's actually the opposite of how a healthy relationship earns trust from the people around it. Now here's where it gets even more interesting, because on top of all of that, Mido is also openly questioning whether he even wants to go back to Egypt. And I want to be careful here, because we don't know for certain what's driving that. This is very much in reportedly, and it feels like territory. But put it together with everything else we just talked about. A guy who's prioritizing footage over intimacy in week 1. A guy who's already disrespecting his partner in front of her friends. And now, a guy who's hesitating on the actual logistics of the life he supposedly signed up for. I'm just going to say it. None of that is giving me, I'm here because I'm desperately in love with Debby. That's giving me, I'm here because this is working out for me in other ways, and I haven't fully decided if going home is worth it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's a totally innocent explanation for the Egypt hesitation that we just haven't seen yet. But based on the pattern we're watching build in real time, episode by episode, I don't think I'm wrong. And honestly, Debby deserves better than having to find out the hard way. All right, let's shift gears, because we need to talk about Catie, and this one is a completely different flavor of messy. Catie's birthday is coming up, and she decides the best way to celebrate is at a bar, which, fine, normal enough on its own. Lots of people celebrate birthdays at bars. The problem is who she decides to invite to that bar. Enter Ryan, a guy Catie traveled through Europe with. A guy Catie has admitted, on her own, to making out with multiple times. We're talking reportedly 4 separate times, and Josh was actually present for 2 of those 4. 2. Which means this isn't some ancient history from before they got together that she's just now disclosing. Some of this allegedly happened while they were already a couple. And her solution to that history is invite him to her birthday party at a bar where there will be drinking. Which, by her own admission earlier this season, is exactly the environment where her, quote, messy era tendencies tend to come out. You guys, I cannot make this up. This is not me being dramatic for views. This is the actual sequence of events. So Josh, understandably, wants to talk to her about Ryan being there. Reasonable request. The man is trying to have an adult conversation with his fiancé about a guy with a documented makeout history showing up at her party. And how does Catie handle it? She basically checks out. She's there, she's nodding, but she's not actually engaging with what he's saying. It's the conversational equivalent of someone agreeing with you just to get you to stop talking, and then doing absolutely nothing differently afterward. And when she does address it, even loosely, her go-to explanation is that this all happened during her, and I'm quoting the vibe here, her messy era. Which, here's the thing. If you have to keep referencing a specific era to explain a pattern of behavior that is still actively happening, in real time, on camera, in front of your fiancé, you might not be in an era. You might just be like this. An era has a beginning and an end. This looks a lot more like a personality trait with a flattering nickname attached to it. I'm not trying to be cruel to Catie here, because honestly, at least she's being upfront about it. She's not hiding the history. She's not pretending Ryan doesn't exist. She told Josh straight up what happened. There's something to be said for that level of honesty, even when the honesty is genuinely chaotic. But there's a difference between being honest about your mess and actually doing the work to stop making the mess in the first place. Right now, Catie's only doing the first one. And that leaves Josh in this really uncomfortable spot, where the question isn't really, is Catie lying to him? It's, how many times is Josh going to keep having this exact same conversation before something actually changes? Is he being incredibly patient, or is he just letting the same pattern repeat because he doesn't want to walk away? Genuinely, I don't know. I think it could honestly be both at once. But I'd love to hear what you think, because the comments on this couple have been split basically down the middle all season. Real quick, Before we get to the verdict, a couple of other things happened this episode that are worth a mention, even if they're not the main event. Edward got through it meeting Marissa's family, specifically her mom, who is apparently not handing out approval easily. Which, fair, that's kind of a mom's job. Annabelle is over Shay's partying and wants him to actually grow up before they go any further, which feels like a pretty reasonable ask, honestly. Thomas is starting to get nervous about Paula's spending habits, which is the kind of thing that tends to either get resolved early or quietly destroy a relationship years down the line. There's not usually a lot of middle ground there. And Maxwell's family is openly questioning whether Ashia actually wants him or whether she wants a slightly different, slightly improved version of him that she can mold into shape. None of these are this week's main event, but keep them in the back of your mind, because at least a couple of these are going to blow up before the season's done. Mark my words. Okay, verdict time. Back to the two big storylines. Let's go back to that moment. Mido, Debby, her friends, sitting right there, and him telling her to shut her mouth, like she's a problem to be managed instead of a person to be loved. That's not a couple working through normal new relationship friction. That's a man who scouted up, started filming for an audience that isn't even on the show, and is already comfortable humiliating his partner in public when she or her people get in the way of however he wants things to look. A week in. 7 days. That is not a slow burn red flag. That's a red flag waving directly in Debby's face, and I really hope she's paying attention to it, because her friends clearly already are. And then you've got Catie and Josh, which is messy and frustrating and honestly a little sad to watch, but it doesn't carry that same controlling, audience-obsessed energy. It's two people who maybe aren't actually compatible in the ways that matter long-term, dealing with that incompatibility in real time, on camera, in the least convenient way possible. That's a different kind of problem than what Mido is doing. So if you're asking me which storyline worries me more for the person on the receiving end of it, it's Mido and Debby, every single time. Catie's mess is about her. Mido's mess is about what he's doing to her. Is Mido here for Debby, or is he here for the fan base he keeps bringing up? And does Catie actually need to grow up, or is Josh just choosing to ignore something that isn't going to change? Let me know what you actually think in the comments, because I want to hear both sides on this one. If you liked this breakdown, hit that subscribe button, because next time we're getting into something even messier, Patrick and Thais. And trust me, that one is a lot.